now's one of those moments that you have when you're traveling where you're asking yourself whether or not you should do the right thing and pay attention to the sign, or whether somehow you're missing out on some kind of special experience that's just the other side of that sign. What do you reckon we should do? Hey, good morning. Thanks for joining me in Morning Walk, episode 98. Still in Darwin on this amazing trip around Australia. And this morning, I've sort of come out to like a park here in the suburbs of Darwin called the Holmes Jungle Nature Park. Just gonna like take a bit of a walk. Before I got out of the car, I was really careful to put on like an absolute ton of like insect repellent, because this season up here in Darwin is like midge season. And if you don't know what midges are, they're like these absolutely minuscule little flying creatures. And when they bite you, it's like just not very fun. So I made sure I put heaps of that on, because the other day I didn't do that when I went for a run and got absolutely torn to shreds. So hope you got your insect repellent on. Let's go and have a bit of a walk. Well, this season in Darwin is what they call the build-up. And I only started, hang on a second, I'll get back to the build-up. This is interesting. This looks like giant stinging tree. Maybe it's not actually a giant stinging tree, because I can't see the cilia, the hairs on the back side of it. But in the tropics in Australia, you get this plant which grows like a regular tree. I don't think it is. And it's got these fine hairs on the underside of it, and it's excruciatingly painful if you rub up against this bloody thing, you know. And the trick is actually, if you do rub against it and you get these like little fine hairs stuck in your skin, is that you should actually get some like masking tape and put some tape over where the hairs went in, and then you rip the hairs out. Not just the hairs of the plant, but also your own hairs. Fortunately, it didn't look like giant stinging tree. Oh, anyway, the build-up. So, like, obviously here in the top end, we've got the wet season and the dry season. Dry season is basically when it stops raining, and the wet season is when it rains a lot. But at the end of the dry season, you have the build-up, which is basically when the humidity starts increasing quite a lot. And, you know, the wet season is coming. It's not yet there. And we pulled into Darwin maybe about a week ago, and it was still hot, but really dry, you know, very, very low humidity. But in the last 3 days, it's actually started getting really quite humid. Like noticeably, it's gone from 10% humidity to 80% humidity. Today, driving out of our caravan park, I just got a shock. Can you guess? Today, driving out of our caravan park, I saw my first big, fat, fluffy cloud. It really tells you that the weather's on the way. This is actually the reason why I reacted suddenly, like just saw this Crocs sign. And you don't want to mess around with Crocs here in the territory. I'm not going to go swimming in that. But just at the moment that I saw that sign, a big flock of birds kind of exploded out of the undergrowth. I'm just like not going to hang around here very long. Let's get out of here. Darwin has been such an amazing stop. You know, it kind of exceeded all my expectations. I've been here before for work, but to actually come and spend a bit of leisure time where you get to go out and, you know, see the crocs in the wild on the Adelaide River, go down to the harbour, you know, eat good food, drink good coffee, yes. It's just been an incredible place to spend a week or 10 days. And one of the things that I've had to do while I've been here is a whole bunch of like little repairs on our caravan. We've got an amazing caravan. It's called a Kedron. They're basically like the best caravans you can buy. They're made for off-road conditions. They're super tough. But of course, when you drive a caravan over hundreds of kilometres of corrugated road, like things just kind of shake and can become a little bit loose. And so you just kind of have to go around and tighten up screws and make sure that everything is, you know, tightly locked down. as it's supposed to be. And last night I was putting on some dinner in the oven, and I just noticed that the door kind of was moving a little bit. And basically since the start of this trip, every time we've used the oven, which runs on gas, like it just is so hot inside the caravan. Like you could just feel the oven pumping out the heat. And I never actually stopped to kind of investigate if it was normal or not. It didn't seem normal because, you know, ovens should be hot. It was taking ages to cook the food. And of course, last night as I'm going around, like checking everything on the caravan, I'm like pulling this door and it's moving a little bit. And I literally reached it down and noticed that this one freaking bolt at the bottom of the oven, just with all of the driving we've done, has come just a tiny little bit loose. And as a result, the door wasn't closing properly. And because the door wasn't closing properly, the food wasn't cooking properly, and the caravan was getting super hot with all of the heat that should have been cooking the food. And so I tightened it up. I think it was such a good lesson, because how often do we just see something that doesn't look quite right and we don't do anything about it? We just kind of ignore it. It's every day. It's at home, it's in the workplace, it's with our friendships, stuff that just doesn't look right, and so we just ignore it because we don't want to have to potentially solve a problem. But to some extent, I think that's kind of wrong. I think we should always be looking out for things that we can solve, easy challenges and problems that we can fix. And if we find those things, we should fix them straight away, because nobody else is going to do it for us. So you might as well do it yourself. And so today, whatever you're getting up to, when you have that moment and you're like, that's weird, doesn't seem quite right, like, don't ignore that feeling. Actually go and solve the problem. Whether it's like tightening up a bolt on an oven, or, you know, it's a strange email that you get from someone, or a funny reaction that you get from a friend about something, and you're kind of like, they're not normally like that. Like, ask why. Ask yourself why that might be the case. And then try to do something about it. Because the world gets better and we get better when we actually, like, address our problems. So, don't ignore them. That's what I got to say. Now's one of those moments that you have when you're traveling, where you're asking yourself whether or not you should do the right thing and pay attention to the sign, or whether somehow you're missing out on some kind of special experience that's just the other side of that sign. What do you reckon we should do? Do you want to go? No, we're not going to go, are we? It wouldn't exactly be in line with what we've been talking about this morning, would it? You really got to take croc safety seriously here in the top end. I was just reading yesterday about a tourist that was taken by a croc when she went with a group of other young backpackers for like a 9 p.m. swim in a waterhole, a billabong, where there were signs just like that one we saw earlier, saying, you know, that there could potentially be crocodiles around. Absolutely devastating, right? Like 24-year-old. It's actually been on my mind overnight. Isabel von Jordan was her name. I just want to say that name, you know. I think it's such a pity to like let these people and their spirits be gone. So I think it's important to sort of speak the name of people who've gone, just so that they remain with us in some way. But Isabel was with a bunch of other backpackers and with a tour guide. With a tour guide who was like, nah, it's fine, everybody. Like, I've been here heaps. There are no crocs in this waterhole. Let's go for a swim. And they all went for a swim at 9 p.m. and 10 p.m. at night. And yeah, she was taken by a croc, which is, I mean, it does my head in. And the poor family. And I kind of wonder if in that whole group of backpackers, if there wasn't one person in that group who had that like feeling like, this doesn't seem like such a good idea, you know, like maybe we shouldn't do this. But then you've got this guide who's like, no, we should do this. Like we should, it's totally fine, everybody. Ignore all the crocodile warning signs. Like it's totally fine to go swimming. one person maybe had that feeling that this was a problem, and no victim shaming here at all, because it was a horrendous thing and they were led astray by somebody who should have known better. But how would you live with that feeling that it was in your mind and you didn't say something? So I'm not blaming them for that event having taken place, but how for them, they would have known that they'd had that hesitation and they hadn't spoken up. That's the thing, right? If you see a problem, speak up about it. Or if you see a problem, fix it if you can. Because if you don't, sometimes the consequences are crazy. I feel so sad for all those people who are involved, because, well, they'll all be scarred. Well, it's a beautiful day out here. Every day is a beautiful day. Whatever you're getting out to, I hope it's a really good one. I'll see you next time on the morning walk. Thanks for joining me.